the pain and made it out of Banner. Drove and see the nightlife where they call Atlanta. Southside shows for a couple dollars, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Brew Party Podcast, episode 111. Welcome in. It's NFL Week 2. We are back. Despite how terrible my picks were last week, we're back and ready to get hurt again. This week, I'm joined by another longtime friend of the party, a guy that I love chopping it up with, a guy you can see me with every week on the From the Stands College Football Show, a guy you can see me with on this week's episode of Review and Preview. It's the head honcho of Review and Preview Sports, the man that calls the shots. Tom Scavetta joins the Brew Party Podcast, going to help me break down week 2, give out some bets, and just talk some football. Tommy boy, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay. Long weekend, but thank you very much for having me. Thank goodness for Notre Dame football, right? That's all I've got to say. 3-0, very excited about that. Yeah, Lo, thank you so much for having me. I know, busy week between you and I, very busy week.
Absolutely, dude. It gets up there with the amount of things that you have to stack up into 1 week. But I get it. Thank you so much for being here, man. At least you cheer for a good football team. Mine, it remains to be seen how the rest of the season is going to go for both of those. But let's do a quick recap here of week 1. I know we just talked about it on your show, but what stood out to you the most from week 1? Any specific game, any specific team you were super impressed with, that you weren't impressed with? What did you think?
I mean, the Lions knocking off the Chiefs is very impressive. Defending champions, Detroit goes into Arrowhead, says, oh, not tonight. First game of the season. We're starting off 2023 with a bang. Amon-Ra St. Brown, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs didn't get too much action, but he was good when he was in there. Sam Laporta. There's a lot of good youth with this Detroit Lions football team. Jack Campbell on defense, Brian Branch as well. Very solid all around. Kadarius Toney is the laughing stock of the NFL right now as far as the receiver position goes. Loved what the Dolphins did against the Chargers on the road. And I also really liked what the Jets did last night, or on Monday night, I should say, despite the Aaron Rodgers injury. I thought Wilson came in. He managed the game very well. He didn't lose it for them. He did his job. Breece Hall coming off an injury. It was an awesome week 1, Andy, except for my Giants, of course. We got our socks taken off we were humiliated, I should say, but I know we'll get into that a little bit later. But those are my general thoughts on the surface there.
Yeah, we will get into your thoughts on the Giants, but it was a great week 1. A lot of interesting games. My bets didn't really go that well. Did you place any wagers last week? Did you have any success or lack thereof?
No success, but I did place some wagers. So I had one last night. I had the under for the Jets game, which hit. I had that with the Jets plus 3.5. That hit. So this was a 5-leg one. I had Rodgers under 249.5, which obviously hit. And then I had Allen for over in rushing yards. My one fault was I took Dalvin Cook 40-plus rushing yards. So that one got me bad. One generic one that I took, like a lot of teams, I took Bijan anytime touchdown. I took Bijan 60-plus. That did not hit, unfortunately. I took Jefferson over 80 receiving yards. That hit. I took Hawkinson over 50.5. That did not hit. Hawkinson had like 5-6 catches for 38 yards. That stinks, man. I had Tyreek over 84.5. That hit. Eckler 25 plus through the air. That hit. Jamal Williams anytime touchdown. That missed. So those were my two major ones for NFL.
Nice. So yeah, some good ones and some tough ones for sure. That's how it always seems to go. I don't think I won any bets during the early slate, and then I went 2-2 in the night slate, and then I was 0 for on Sunday night and and Monday. So it was rough, bro. Very rough. I gave out some player props for the Bears game. None of them hit, so that felt real good. Football's back. What can you say? Speaking of feeling real good, we're not going to feel real good with this next segment because we're going to talk about our football teams and how depressing they are. We're going to start with you, Tom. So Sunday Night Football, prime time, Cowboys 40, Giants nothing. The Cowboys come into MetLife and drop a 40 burger on your Giants. Sacked Daniel Jones 7 times, picked him off twice, blocked a field goal, just dominated almost every phase of the game, Tom. Obviously not a good feeling, and I'm not trying to kick you while you're down here, but just talk to me about watching this in real time. How you asked me this on your show, so I'll ask you the same thing. Did you make it the whole game?
I did, unfortunately, but I wasn't paying as much attention in the third and fourth quarter, specifically the fourth quarter, because I was disgusted. It seemed like every time we got the ball, something went wrong. And don't get me wrong, there was definitely some unlucky plays in that game, like the first Jones interception, the one that Barkley got drilled and the ball went up in the air. Once the Giants had the field goal blocked, returned for a touchdown, I knew we were in for a long night. Dallas owns us. They own us. We've beat them once since 2016, and that was against Andy Dalton at quarterback. So it was a real rough go. Our offensive line is a major work in progress. It's the weakest link on our football team right now. Our best one got hurt, unfortunately, with the hammy. That's Andrew Thomas. Just got a big payday too, 5 years, $117 million in the offseason. Ben Bredeson was average at left guard. John Michael Schmitz had more good than bad at center, but he had that one awful snap on the first drive that I don't know if the ball was just wet, and dead ball snaps aren't friendly when the ball is wet like that. Mark Lewinsky, one of the worst right guards starting, at least in the National Football League. And Evan Neal might not be an NFL offensive tackle. Evan Neal might be the biggest bust out of the top 10 picks in the 2022 draft. That's how I'm feeling right now, Andy. The only bright side of this game were the rookie corners, Deontay Banks and Trey Hawkins. I thought they held their own. I really did. I thought Banks did a solid job in coverage. I know Hawkins had the one pass interference, but other than that, he was solid. I mean, Dallas was barely on the field. I mean, you really couldn't expose Dak at all. You know, it sucked. It really, really sucked. I was so excited for Daniel Jones, and he had no time to throw the football. He made some eerie decisions, but I mean, the whole team looked bad, man. Like Barkley couldn't get his thing going after the first quarter. Hyatt dropped the pass. It's depressing. I mean, I predicted they'd go 11-6 before the season. 6-11 sounds about right now. Brian Dable made some questionable coaching decisions with leaving Daniel Jones in the game 40-0. Maybe should have played the starters a little bit more in the preseason so that this wouldn't happen, maybe. But here we are, Andy. Here we are, the laughing stock of the NFL after week 1.
So 11-6 before the season. Now you're thinking more 6-11. You took that question right out of my mouth. What has to change in order for this team to, I mean, fuck, you go 40-0. I think the next step is to compete in a game before you can say, hey, but I guess, yeah, what has to change for this team to be competitive, for this team to win football games?
Yeah, I mean, 6-11 might be me being a little bit Debbie Downing right now.
Well, it's hard not to. I don't blame you.
If the Giants beat the Cardinals convincingly this week, and I mean by like at least 2 possessions, you can get me back or around that 9-8, 8-9 area. But the problem with this team is the problem they've had over the last decade, and it's the offensive line. Ever since the second Super Bowl against the Patriots, 46, the offensive line's been an issue. Even in that game, it was an issue. It's just one bad draft pick after another. You know, the coaching staff couldn't figure out that Eric Flowers was supposed to be a guard in the NFL and not a tackle. I hope they figure that out with Evan Neal sooner rather than later. I get it. He's 6'7", but I believe, Andy, a guy that you might have drafted, Jalen Mayfield, right? Or no, you drafted Tevin Jenkins. I forget who you drafted Tevin Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple of these guys who were drafted as tackles are moving into guard. Look at Pete Skoronski for the Titans. He had a solid week 1. He's playing guard. Evan Neal needs to move into guard. Mark Lewinsky needs to get his act together. Otherwise, he'll get benched. The offensive line needs to improve drastically. The Cardinals don't present as much challenges as the Cowboys do, but their pass rush unit is not the worst in the NFL. They have names there that can make plays. So Isaiah Simmons revenge game?
We'll see. I like that. Recently dealt over to New York. So the vibes are not great, obviously, but there's a lot of season left, a lot of time to turn it around. You said something about the Cowboys and the Giants that resonated with me. You said they own us. And speaking of one team owning another, we're going to transition this over to my misery, which is Packers 38, Bears 20. Rodgers is gone. The boogeyman's gone. We're supposed to solve all of our problems. We were so much high hope for this season. We were favored to beat the Packers, and they come out with an absolute dud of a performance offensively. You don't let Justin Fields throw the ball downfield at all. The 2 times he does throw for 15 or more air yards, he has a touchdown and like a 35-yard completion. But yeah, no, let's keep running these gimmicky screen passes and shit that's 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 15. The offensive line is terrible. They can't block anybody. They hold on every play. They move early on every play. It's just constant shooting themselves in the foot. They just couldn't get it together at any point. I thought the first half wasn't terrible. Like, obviously they gave the Packers a short field, so I think that's how they got their touchdown. But it's like the beginning of the game, the Packers like, all right, we've got Aaron Jones, we're just going to run the ball. And they kind of forgot that they had Aaron Jones for a little bit. In the second half, they're like, oh yeah, we have Aaron Jones, let's just give him the ball every time. And the defense couldn't stop him. So one of the most disappointing losses, I think, in recent Bears memory. This was supposed to be just kind of like the start of, the new era of a new team in this rivalry, kind of taking the next step, and certainly wasn't that. Fields looked handcuffed, and he didn't look great either. I mean, I am a big Justin Fields believer. I'm a Justin Fields defender, but he made a couple questionable throws. But it just feels like a situation where he's just not being set up to succeed like he should be. We need to figure the running back situation out. I understand they want to do a running back by committee, but you got to have a guy that you can rely on. You got to have a bell cow back there that is going to go get you the yards when you absolutely have to have the yards. Give the ball to DJ Moore. I don't know what the hell happened there. 2 receptions for 25 yards, something like that. Just went out, traded the number 1 pick, had that whole package for him, and that's how you use him in the opener. It just left a very bad taste in my mouth. I wanted to cry on Saturday. That's how frustrating it was watching that shit. And then now you go to Tampa next week, and they just fucking beat the Vikings on the road. So you go from being favored in the Tampa game to now you're 3-point dogs, and their defensive line and defense is going to tear our offensive line up. So it is going to be another long week. I said last week on the show with Jordan that if the Bears win 6 games, you're ecstatic, that I'm kind of just happy to be here. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, but I also at least want to watch competitive games. You don't have to win every game. I realize you're not going to win every game. I realize the talent level on this team isn't where Ryan Poles wants it to be, but you certainly made quite a bit of moves over the offseason to set yourself up to be better than last year. And you certainly didn't look better than last year in week 1. It looked like more of the same. And I just hope Getsy and Eberflus can figure it out. You need to open it up a little bit more on offense. And then defensively, you kind of just is what it is. You know, we're not going to stop anybody, but you're going to have to open it up on offense. So I don't know. The Bucs aren't great. Maybe they have a chance, but I don't feel very good about it right now. And week 1 was, but Illinois just giving up millions of yards to Kansas, and then the Bears doing the same thing. Like, their defenses look exactly the same. It's the most frustrating thing ever. But yeah, Tom, so you're not alone. Not alone.
No, I hear you. I mean, freaking Roscoe Johnson had 7 targets. Why? Like, was the line that bad, or were they just throwing short passes?
They couldn't block anybody, and yeah, it was 100%.
Like
they couldn't block anybody, and yeah, it was almost exclusively short passes, predictable bootlegs where they don't let him get out of the pocket. Where they are letting him get out of the pocket, but it's the most predictable time. So they read it like a book, and just, I mean, I said it on your show. Green Bay absolutely dominated the line of scrimmage on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see what happens in Tampa on Sunday, but I don't feel good about it. I don't feel great about the rest of the year. Prove me wrong, I guess. Hopefully, but hopefully. So from here, I forgot to ask, are you like a player prop guy at all? You have any player props you might like for the Giants and Cardinals game? It's okay if not, because I definitely didn't prepare any for the Bears Buccaneers game.
I'd say, if anything, a Barkley touchdown. That's about it. Or the over on Daniel Jones rushing yards.
Those are the 2 things. I like both of those. Bears, if I'm going just off the top of my head, I'll probably get suckered into taking Fields rushing yards over again, because I said last week I was going to do that every week. I don't hate a Fields anytime touchdown. From there, I'm probably not touching anything with the receivers or the running backs, just because it's just such a what if that I just don't even know. I like Godwin over receiving yards and potentially to score, and then Evans too, because just the way our defense is playing, I think one of them gets loose for like a long touchdown. So we'll see. But from there, we'll go in. We're just going to go through every game. I'll give you the line. I'll give you the total, and we'll kind of just break it down from there. So first up, Thursday night football. Vikings are going to the Eagles. Vikings 0-1, Eagles 1-0. Vikings +7, and the total of 48.5. So what are your thoughts on this one, Tom?
My thoughts are, I really want the Vikings to win. I would really like to see it. I know you're probably rooting for Philly because Minnesota's in your division. I think the Eagles will win by 7. As far as the over, I think the game will be a little more higher scoring this year. The Vikings defense sucks. It still sucks. Philly's defense got a little worse. Just found out Nakobe Dean is heading to short-term IR. I don't know if the Vikings are going to be able to run the football at all with Alexander Mattison. If he was on your fantasy team this week, I'd bench him. I really would. It's going to be all stuff over the middle to Hawkinson. They're going to try to get Jefferson on some slants and some deep plays, but Kirk Cousins probably throws an interception or so. He probably throws a touchdown or two. I think the Vikings look better than they did last year, but remember, they played this exact same game in week 2 last year, early in the week, and it was not pretty for the Minnesota Vikings. And don't get me wrong, I like Kevin O'Connell. I do. But this defense right now is not set up for success at all. Hopefully Brian Flores can get it together. Granted, he doesn't have much talent to work with right now. So I like Philly -7.
I like it. And I like your reasoning for it. I think I said it on your show, so I'll be consistent. I think Philly wins the game, but I'll take the Vikings to cover. Stay tuned Thursday on all of our socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for Brews Pick. Through the first week, he's 1-3 in the primetime games. He got a very, very much needed win on Monday Night Football. Of course, it's the game I went against him on. Well, I went against him Sunday. No, I was with him Sunday, went against him on Monday, and I lost both. So on to the next game. Green Bay and Atlanta. Green Bay is going to Atlanta. Green Bay currently on FanDuel is getting 1.5, and 40.5 is the total. I like the total here. I think 40.5 feels pretty low. Tom, what do you think about this game?
You know what's funny? I kind of disagree. I like the under. The Falcons really improved their defense from last season. They went out and they got Jesse Bates. They got Onyemata, Calais Campbell to help out with their run defense. Caden Ellis. I'm high on the Falcons this year, but Green Bay's defense is also very good. I like Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, Jair Alexander. I believe they still have Za'Darius. No, they have Preston. They lost Za'Darius to Minnesota, and now he's with Baltimore. But they still have Preston Smith there. Devondre Campbell. I mean, both defenses are really good. I don't foresee a lot of points in this game, but I like Green Bay to win outright and cover the, what is it, -1.5?
1.5 right now on FanDuel, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they just beat Chicago, sorry, Andy, by 18. And Atlanta and Chicago are similar to me as far as talent on their football teams. So I like Green Bay to cover.
All right. I don't think that's a bad bet. I think Green Bay -1.5 is pretty solid. You can get the money line at -124. Feels like it's going to be a close game. I'm excited to see what Jordan Love looks like against a little bit better defense. Next up, Bears going to Tampa. Bears +3, over under 41.5. I'll just go quick here and I'll throw it to you. I think Tampa covers. I think they win by more than 3.
Unfortunately, I agree. Bucs defense is really good. They still got, Vontae David, Shaq Barrett, Devin White, Antoine Winfield. I can continue naming names. Carlton Davis. They're really good defensively. I mean, Todd Bowles has always had a good defense. The question is, will Baker be a game manager and help them win rather than lose? And I do think in this instance, they will win. Chicago's on the road too, right?
Yeah, Chicago's on the road, and I believe secondary is going to be missing Kyler Gordon. I think he broke his hand or wrist or something. I think he's out like 6 to 8 weeks. So hold the fill in the secondary. That's on a defense that we saw how they performed last week, which was not great, Bob. I hate to say it. I'm going to be watching the game for sure. I actually have a buddy that is a Bucs fan, so we're going to watch the game together, which will be fun and probably also terrible, but I'm looking forward to it. So next up, Lions are hosting the Seattle Seahawks. The Lions are getting 5.5 points. Over under is at 47. I love the Lions here. I'm drinking the Lions Kool-Aid, and I'm sure it's a recency bias from their Thursday night football game, their win over the Chiefs, and then just how shitty the Seahawks looked yesterday. I think in the second half, they only had their possession time was like 4.5 minutes or something like that. It was like crazy low.
Yeah, Seattle can't move the football if they can't protect Geno. Geno is not a mobile quarterback. I mean, he can move, but he's not a runner. He's a pocket passer. And in order to get the ball out to guys like Metcalf and Lockett, he needs time. The offensive line gave him no time last week. And that's what happened to both of our teams, realistically speaking. So, yeah, I like Detroit here. Better offensive line, better defense. They've improved so much, Andy. I'm starting to drink this Kool-Aid as well. Maybe they'll add him to their defense in 2024.
Yeah, Kool-Aid McKinstry. That'd be cool. He'd look good in the Honolulu blue. I'm sure this 5.5, this will be a game that I feel like the public will be all over the Lions, but I don't even care. Like, it just, after week 1, I can't in good faith pick the Seahawks.
No.
Next up, we're going to go Raiders and Bills. The Raiders are going to Buffalo. Buffalo and Josh Allen looking to bounce back off that very, very awful performance last night. Bills are getting 9.5. 9.5 at home. Total is at 47. I don't hate the under here. I feel like this could be a defensive battle. Max Crosby looked awesome for the Raiders in week 1. Nate Hobbs, the Illini alum in the secondary, played really well for them. And then, Buffalo, they're prone to mistakes. Josh Allen talked about it in his post-game press conference. He said, he's just trying to force the ball too much. He said, forcing it. Same shit, different place, different day, I believe was his quote. But the Bills 9.5 feels like a lot of points. Feels like a game they bounce back and win. But I don't know. I kind of like the Raiders to cover this number.
I do too. The Raiders will cover the number. I'd put like $1,000 on that if I could. But I do think Buffalo wins outright. I do think it's a 3 or 4 point game. They really downgraded at OC last year. When Dable left for the Giants, Ken Dorsey coming in, that was not a good replacement for Dable, who, quite frankly, I think fixed Josh Allen's mistakes. Helped fix Josh Allen's mistakes. You have to give Allen some credit, though, for doing that. But and defensively, they don't have Leslie Frazier this year. He stepped away from coaching, taking the year off. There's a new defensive coordinator in town. So, McDermott has to coach these guys up a little better. They're without Von Miller the first few weeks. It showed. They couldn't get to Zach Wilson on Monday Night Football. They couldn't get to Zach Wilson. The Raiders will cover, but I do think the Bills get a win at home. They're not going to start 0-2.
Correct.
He's a winner, though. He is a winner.
I mean, dude, he didn't look bad week 1. He got hurt, I think, on the first drive, but came back, and you just got a divisional win. They're the only team in the West that is currently 1-0, which is crazy. Which is crazy to say.
Eastern Illinois.
Yeah, the Panthers, Charleston, baby. Next up, we're gonna go Chargers and Titans. The Chargers are going to Tennessee, and they're getting 3 points. So Chargers -3, over under of 45. Do we just hammer the over on every Chargers game, seeing that performance last week and how cooked the defense was? Obviously, the Titans do not have a Tyreek Hill on their sideline that's going to completely run by everybody in the Chargers secondary, but they do have DeAndre Hopkins, who's very solid. They do have Traylon Burks, a young guy that is trying to prove his way here, and that he belongs in the NFL. Tom, we talked about this one a little bit on your show, and you had an interesting take on this one. I want you to hit me with it.
Titans money line. Titans money line. Brandon Staley sucks. Mike Vrabel is probably the most underrated head coach in the National Football League. Respect the game, man. Derrick Henry, Treylon Burks, solid weapon for Tannehill. Tannehill looked atrocious last week. I think it's only a matter of time before Levis or Willis gets in there. I don't even know who the backup is. I don't know if they formally announced one.
I don't know.
At this point, it could be like a 2A and 2B type of thing. But defensively, they still have Denico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard, one of the best safeties in the league. I don't think Herbert has as good of a game. I think he still plays well, though. Like, I think he's going to throw a couple touchdown passes. Sure, I think he throws at least 2, but I do think the Titans find a way to win this game by 2 or 3 points.
Yeah, I like that. I love putting your nuts on the table for an underdog money line. And yes, currently Titans.com, the depth chart shows their second string quarterback as both Malik Willis and Will Levis. Don't know how that works, but it is what it is. So they know more than me for sure. Yeah. So we'll move on. We're gonna go Ravens going to Cincinnati, AFC North matchup. The Bengals are getting 3.5 points. They're coming off a 24-3 loss in Cleveland, where Joe Burrow only like 86 yards passing. They only had 70 yards on the ground as a team. All around, terrible performance from the Bengals last week, but they are favored. They're hosting the Ravens. Unfortunately, J.K. Dobbins, again, I mean, this guy just can't stay healthy. You feel so bad for the guy. Played, I think, every game of his career at Ohio State, and then now in his NFL career, I think he's gotten hurt like every year. He tore his Achilles. He's going to be out for the rest of the year. So Baltimore without their number one running back. But Gus Edwards slides in. You have Zay Flowers on the outside. I believe Mark Andrews will be back for this game. OBJ, and some other weapons around Lamar Jackson. So I like the Ravens here. I forget the stat, but it was like, see if I can find it. But they have like a ridiculous cover percentage in divisional games. So I'm going to say plus 3.5, and I'd even think sprinkling the money line's a little bit worth it here. Tom, what do you think?
Once again, throwing my nuts on the table. Bengals win. No Marcus Williams either on defense. I think the offensive line is going to give Burrow more time this game. They have to protect him. That pass rush was brutal last week in the Texans game for the Ravens, and the Browns really brought the heat on Burrow last week as well with Myles Garrett and company. So I just don't see the Bengals losing at home and starting 0-2. I mean, I picked them to go all the way this year. I got to stick with it, but I do think the Ravens cover. I think the Bengals win on like a game-winning field goal or something like that. So as far as 3.5 goes, I think the Ravens will cover. I have the Ravens only losing one divisional game this year, and this is it. I think they lose to the Bengals at the Bengals. So I am high on Baltimore, Andy, but in week 2, I don't quite have them pulling this one out.
Sure. I get it. And you bring up some good points. So we'll go on to the next game of the week. I don't know why this isn't the national game, Tom. Colts and Texans. Yes, that's right, folks. Don't get too excited. The Indianapolis Colts going to Houston to face the Texans. And I'll say it. I said it on your show. The Colts didn't look terrible against the Jaguars. They gave the Jags a game, and they are favored in this one. Colts -1. Over under is at 40. So I think we have to hammer the under here. Because it just feels like it's going to get sloppy.
That it does. I don't think too many points will be scored. 2 rookie quarterbacks, but I will say this. Sky's the limit for Anthony Richardson. He's good. I mean, yes, he didn't play much in college, but I mean, I've said this on From the Stands before. He could be the best talent out of this year's quarterback class. I just think he came out a year too soon. If he stayed in Florida, he would be the number 1 pick this year over Caleb Williams, in my opinion. I'll go that far and say that. Because he played in the SEC. Caleb Williams plays in the Pac-12 seconds, or the Pac-2 seconds now. So, yeah, I like Steichen. They looked okay week 1. I still think their defense is good. Zaire Franklin, Grover Stewart, they got guys. Houston does too, but yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Colts in this one. I think they gave Jacksonville a good test, and I think they have they're the youngest team in the league, by the way. I don't know if you knew.
Yeah, they don't have
any player on their roster is over 30.
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, I guess my only gripes with Steichen from a coaching perspective week 1 was they went for it a couple times on 4th down. And I love going for it, but like you've got to have the right play. And it just felt like the play calling on some of those 4th downs was a little questionable. But I'm not an NFL head coach, so what the fuck do I know? Next, Chiefs at Jaguars. The Chiefs are getting 3 points. Over-unders 51.5. Tom, this feels, again, this is something you've said for a couple of our other games here. The Chiefs aren't starting 0-2. There's no way the Chiefs start 0-2. As much as both of us expressed on review and preview that we want to pick the Jaguars, and I still do. I still do want to pick the Jags. I think the Kansas City Chiefs win this one, and I think they cover as well.
When I think a team is going to win, but I don't want them to win, I don't bet on them because then it takes all the fun out of it. Why root for the opposite to win so yeah, the Chiefs will cover 3 points, in my opinion. But Jacksonville has bridged the gap with Kansas City. If they played again in the divisional round this year, in 4 months from now, Jacksonville has a shot to win. They have a shot to win. In fact, I mean, I'm super high on them this year. They have a chance to be one of the top 3 teams in the AFC. With Kansas City and either Cincinnati or Baltimore. So, yeah, I like the Chiefs to win. Calvin Ridley is back, by the way. We don't know if Travis Kelce's going to play, but here's the key factor, Andy, why I think the Chiefs cover 3. Chris Jones is going to play. Agreed to a 1 year. They didn't have him last week against Detroit. Now they finally have some sort of a pass rush. It's crazy to think one guy can make it or break it.
Absolutely. Huge for them to get him back. It'll be even bigger if they're able to get Kelce back. I think this game, the week 1 game that Kelce missed was like his first game he missed due to injury since like 2013 or like 2016 or something crazy. So yeah, I think we're both really on the same page there, but yeah, that's a good point. Why the hell would I bet on him if I don't want him to win? We'll move on. 49ers at the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams actually looked really good last week. Took care of the Seahawks, hung 30 points on them. But they get their division rivals. They get the San Francisco 49ers coming to town after the Niners went to Pittsburgh and just put the absolute beating on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Niners are getting 8 points on the road. Total is 44. I like the Niners to cover. I like them to win big. Since 2020, Kyle Shanahan is 7-0 against the spread against Sean McVay, and he's 10-3 for his career against the spread against Sean McVay. I look for that trend to continue. I like the 49ers big here. I just don't know if I foresee the Rams putting it together like that back-to-back weeks and against a team of the caliber of the 49ers.
It's always tough to start the year off with 2 divisional games in a row. Maybe Vegas knows something that I don't. -8 seems to be a lot for a team on the road, but again, there's no Cooper Kupp for at least the next 3 weeks. You know what's crazy, Andy? We like a Brock Purdy team better than a Matt Stafford team.
Yeah.
What? And we used to say how average, or now the young kids say the term mid. Like Brock Purdy was a mid-tier quarterback in college. He was nothing special. He was almost a UDFA. He was one pick away from being a UDFA, and he helped his team to the NFC title game last year. I'm happy Stafford is healthy, but man, would I love to see Stetson Bennett go up against Brock Purdy.
That'd be fun.
That would be sick. For real, though, 49ers win, but so I'll agree with you outright, but spread-wise, just +8 in week 2 or -8 in week 2 seems a lot on the road for a divisional game. You do bring up a good point about history against the spread for Shanahan against McVay, but I'll go Rams +8. 49ers
I like it
to win, but Rams +8.
I like being different. And dude, the crazy thing, you're talking about Brock Purdy. I saw some stat that he's like the first quarterback to win their first 6 regular season starts and throw at least 2 touchdowns in all 6 of those. Like it's not just that they're winning games, like he's playing well too, which is the craziest part about it. Like I'm not going to pretend that I was tuning into a bunch of Iowa State games while he was there, but I watched him play there a handful of times, and I would have never thought in a million years that we'd be seeing this kid in this situation. But that's what's so great about this sport. It's what's so great about the NFL. It's the storylines and the holy shits. How did that happen? So we'll move on. Tommy boy, we're going to talk about your team now, the Giants. Going to Arizona Sunday, 3:06 p.m. Central Time, 4:06 Eastern, in good old New York. So the Giants are getting 6. Over under a 39.5. Obviously, we talked about it earlier. Don't feel too great after week 1. But you're going up against an Arizona team that is widely considered to be the least talented roster in the NFL at this point. A team that is probably tanking, probably not doing their best effort to win. Feels like a great opportunity for the Giants to bounce back here and feel a lot better about themselves.
Yeah, but they have to look good doing it too. They can't just win the football game and say, "Oh, we're back." Like, yes, your record would be 1-1, but you would still have a 40-point loss. A 3 or even a 7-point win against the Cardinals would not look good at all. They have to blow this team out by at least 14 to 20 points for me to be, relatively content. But I don't know if they win by 2 touchdowns. They looked horrible last week. We definitely don't see the same Giants team on Sunday in Arizona that we saw Sunday at MetLife. That's not going to happen. But I do think Arizona has a shot here. They do, because they're probably thinking the same thing. Well, if the Giants just lost 40-0, this is a game we could steal from them. And Gannon, the DC for Philly, knows the Giants really, really well since he's now with Arizona. But the Giants also have Isaiah Simmons, who I think knows a thing or two about Arizona. I wish I could omit the spread here, but I'm taking the Giants outright. I think they cover. I forget what I said on review and preview. I don't think we actually went over that game, but I think they cover. And I don't say that confidently.
I get you. So I said we didn't preview the game, but I picked this one as my upset of the week. Yeah. I have the Giants on upset alert. Plus 194 for the Cardinals on the money line right now. I think that's worth a look. I feel like this game goes one of 2 ways. The Giants come in pissed off and just blow them the fuck out, or the Cardinals hang in it until the last possession. And they either this to me screams blowout or last second field goal for the win on either side. So I'm going to take my chances, sprinkle the Cardinals money line, but Not happy to do it to you, Tom. I swear I'm not happy to do it.
All right.
So we'll go to another team that you love. Wink, wink. The Jets going to your favorite, the Cowboys. Sunday in the late window. Cowboys getting 9.5. Over under 39.5. Give me your thoughts on this game.
Yeah. My thoughts. Well, Dallas wins, obviously. Actually, I don't know if I should say obviously, because the Jets have a really, really good defense, and you don't know what they're going to do. I just read in between shows here because we recorded review and preview in the brew party on the same night. So you can tell we're wearing the same clothes.
Same stuff, yeah.
They might look into trading for Case Keenum because Case Keenum is currently the third string for Houston. I think he's behind Stroud and Mills. So it would make sense for him to elevate to QB2 for the Jets and back up Zach Wilson. And if he shits the bed, you throw in Case Keenum. But as far as week 2 goes, I like Dallas, and I like Dallas to cover. I think they win by 10.
Dallas wins by 10. That is Tom's prediction. I'd see this 39.5, and it feels low, but it also, these are two defenses that are playing very, very well to start the year. So I don't know if I touch the total. 9.5 feels like a lot of points, but the Jets are coming off that emotional victory on Monday Night Football. I see potentially a little bit of a hangover from that. I like the Cowboys. Next, we will go to the Commanders and the Broncos. Broncos at home. Broncos are getting 3.5. Total is 38.5. Commanders just basically went down to the wire with Arizona. They didn't look bad, I don't think, but offense wasn't great. Brand new quarterback in Sam Howell, still trying to figure some things out. New offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. Broncos just dropped one on the they were at home, weren't they? Against Las Vegas. But this feels like a very close one to me, man. I will take the Commanders plus 3.5. Feels like I think the Broncos win, but it feels like a last second field goal to get the win.
Yeah, Washington did not look super impressive last week, but one matchup I'm keying in on is Terry McLaurin against Pat Surtain II. If he's healthy, for some reason I feel like he might be dinged up or something, but I don't know why that's popping into my head now. But that matchup should be awesome to watch. I like Denver to win outright. You said the spread's 3.5. Yeah, I don't think they cover that. I really don't. But they'll definitely win. It's, Javonte Williams coming off of injury. It's week 2, new head coach working with a second-year QB on this team, first year in a new scheme. Yeah, it's interesting to watch. I mean, are Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton going to be able to stop Brian Robinson on the second level? Is the defensive line going to apply pressure? But these are some valid questions. So I think it's valid to question Denver, but I do think they will win this football game, and I'll take them to cover. I'll take Washington to cover. Sorry, Washington to cover, but Denver to win. Yes.
All right, we're on the same page. So Sunday Night Football, Miami going up to New England, and the new lighthouse and the new Jumbotron for the Patriots. Miami's getting 2 points, 2-point favorites on the road. 46.5 is the total. I'm going to take the over. Feels like both of these teams would be able to score 24 points. And I will take the Dolphins to win the game as well. 2 feels like kind of a weird number, but I'll take them. I'll take the Dolphins -2, and I'll take the over.
I like Miami as well. I do. Not that I think New England is a bad football team. I don't, but they're in a competitive division. Tua looked really good last week. New England is without Jack Jones right now. They have Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones. Yes, they have 3 corners with the last name Jones, folks. But I think Miami will be able to keep up with the Joneses. And I do think the Dolphins will win this game on the road and cover the spread, although that spread seems a little bit suspect to me for a team that just beat the Chargers on the road, having to win 2 road games to start the season. That's not easy. So the Patriots have a chance here to pull this out, but I'm going to roll with Miami for now. I might change my mind later in the week, but I'm rolling with the Dolphins.
As of right now, we're both on Miami. You bring up a good point. This is a very winnable game for the Patriots. They hung around with the Eagles for the majority of that game in week 1. But Miami, obviously, with their more impressive performance, going to be more inclined to pick them. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. So we have 2 Monday Night Football games this week. Get excited. Well, first one might be a little bit tough to get excited for, but Monday at 6:16 Central Time, the New Orleans Saints are going to Carolina, and they're getting 3 points. Totals 40.5. Carolina's not very good. The Saints snuck out a win against the Titans at home in week 1. I look for them to do more than sneaking this win out. I think they win by more than 3, and I don't think they have a problem doing it.
Saints win. Saints cover. Carolina's not there yet. I don't like either of the head coaches, Reich or Allen. But Derek Carr's the better quarterback. And, Young is still young. So, but I believe Chark was out last week, and Thielen was dealing with something. He was questionable. I think he played, but he wasn't.
He played, but he wasn't super effective, and Hayden Hurst was their leading receiver. He had 5 catches, but it was only 44 yards, maybe something like that, yeah.
It's a rookie quarterback's best friend, the tight end.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Saints money line and Saints spread, please.
Yeah, I love it. We are on the same page there, and then to close it out for our week 2 show, we have an AFC North rivalry. It's the Cleveland Browns going to Pittsburgh. Cleveland's getting 2.5. 39.5 is the total. Cleveland looked very impressive in week 1 over Cincinnati. Nick Chubb had a great day on the ground. That's what they're going to want to do. They're going to want to try to pound the rock. Pittsburgh gave up 35 points in the opener. They only scored 7 on the offensive side of the ball. I believe Deontay Johnson got hurt in that matchup as well. He's a big piece for them offensively. Pickett didn't look great, Tom. Didn't look great. Are the Steelers able to bounce back here at home on Monday Night Football?
Nah. I like the Browns. That's actually I like Cleveland because look what they did to Cincinnati last week. I mean, you can't convince me that the Steelers offense, where Deontay Johnson is not going to play, will beat this Browns team right now. I mean, their offensive line, the Browns, is perfect. The guards are great. Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller. They still have Treader at center. Jedrick Wills is still there. I know Conklin got hurt. Jack Conklin. He suffered an injury that seemed kind of serious, so I don't know what his status is, but Nick Chubb should be able to run all over the place. Jerome Ford is the new complimentary back in Cleveland, former Bearcat. And then, Watson, his play has declined a little, yeah, but he's still good. He's still very good. He's on a big contract, so I think he'll look better this year. And Amari Cooper, Peoples-Jones, they're solid. And Njoku at tight end, they have the better football team right now. So yeah, I like Cleveland here, and I like Cleveland to cover.
I like Cleveland minus 2.5. I like the 2.5 because it gives you that flexibility of a field goal there at the end. And I think they're wearing their white uniforms with their new white helmets for this game too. So that should be a good look. But those are our picks, what we think is going to happen for NFL Week 2. So they're 100% all going to hit. We're never wrong on this show, obviously. Tom, thank you so much for being here, my man. Before we get you out of here, please promote and plug yourself, or anything you got going on, anything you want the people to know about.
Absolutely. So first off, thank you so much for having me. This is always a blast.
Absolutely.
We always have fun doing this stuff, regardless of whose channel it's on. Review and Preview is where to find us, or me and my work specifically. I do my NFL-based show every week. That's at Review and Preview Sports. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, you name it. I also do a Giants podcast with my good friend Sam Cardona, the girl who talks sports, also a mutual friend with Andy Hopper. We do a Giants-based show, Big Blue Avenue. That varies what day we're going to run the show nowadays, but we're usually live one night of the week, either Wednesday or Thursday at 7 p.m. during football season. We always promote on our social media. You can follow us at Instagram, Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. Still kind of neglecting doing a recap video on the game. May just bypass that and go over a couple film plays. And then lastly, from the Stand Sports US, myself, Andy Hopper, Brian McCardle, we will be live with our Week 3 show. So if you like our takes on here, you might want to get some of our college football takes as well. So that is where to find us.
I love it, man. It's always a pleasure getting to talk to you. Like you said, it doesn't matter if it's on my show, your show, Brew Party, Review and Preview from the stands. It's always a pleasure, my friend. I appreciate you joining me and helping me break down Week 2. Hopefully had a little therapy session, made us feel a little bit better about our shitty teams and their performances in Week 1. Yours is definitely set up to correct themselves in Week 2 better than mine is, but it is what it is. This is the Brew Party Podcast, episode 111. Find us on YouTube, youtube.com/The Brew Party. We are wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, all that good stuff. Just search The Brew Party, www.thebrewparty.com. It's got all of our episodes, links to social media, and ways to support the show. Speaking of social media, we are on Facebook at the Brew Party Podcast and everywhere else. So Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at the Brew Party. Give us a follow, give us a retweet, give us a like. We would really appreciate it. For Thomas Scavetta, I'm Andy Hopper, wishing you the best of luck on this week of NFL action, no matter what your team is. Leave us a comment. Tell us who you're riding with this week. Tell us who you like. Tell us who you don't like. We appreciate you tuning in. Until next week, see you later.